everybody. This is Raul for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the great honor and pleasure of chatting with bassist and vocalist Carolyn Routh.
Hello, good to see you today.
Our pleasure, Carolyn. Carolyn is the bassist for the group, along with her husband Daniel, Nu-Blu, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But as always, we like to go back to the past. How did you get started in music and on bass?
Well, when I first started in music, I was just a wee little thing. I started singing in church, probably 4 or 5 years old, because I loved to sing. I always loved music. Didn't play any instruments at the time. Not too long after that, as I was progressing, I took piano lessons for a while. Enough to know where all the notes are and enough to read a little bit of music, but not enough to put it all together at the same time. I didn't like to practice very much then. So going on through life, I developed a love for all kinds of music. I went through, again, church music, did some Broadway musical type things when I was in high school. At my very core, though, I was always a rock and roll chick. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the 80s when I think was the best genre, was the best music for any genre, the best decade. All the great stuff came out in the 80s, all the big hair bands, Pat Benatar, who I'm still in love with.
Yes.
So I go through all my rock and roll stuff. I go through country. When my husband and I met, I was actually fronting a Christian rock band that badly needed a bass player. He at the time was playing banjo in a bluegrass band. We met originally at Walmart, where he worked, and one day he came in my family's restaurant, and I told him that I was looking for a bass player, and he said, "What kind of music?" I said, "Contemporary Christian." He said, "I don't play bass, but I'll learn."
There you go.
So he learned how to play bass, joined the Contemporary Christian band, and we did that probably for about 6 or 8 months. We kept losing drummers. We couldn't keep a drummer. I wasn't playing bass then. We decided to jump back and start a bluegrass band. We had both grown up in North Carolina. I had bluegrass around me my entire life. You can't throw a rock in North Carolina without hitting a bluegrass musician. And so it just seemed like a natural fit for us. And we started that in 2003, started Nu-Blu. Mm-hmm. And by late 2004, early 2005, we had gone through like 2 or 3 bass players. Daniel was playing guitar in Nu-Blu. Okay. We had gone through 2 or 3 bass players. We just couldn't keep anybody. And he finally looked at me one day and said, either you're going to learn to play bass or we're going to just stop the band because we can't keep going through this. So I learned to play bass.
There you go.
For me, that was a grueling experience because in my brain, I see music as black and white keys because I learned on piano. So converting that to strings was a big challenge for me. Thankfully, I made it work eventually, but that's kind of how we got to the point that we're at now and got me playing bass.
Well, and it's remarkable that you also, in addition to playing bass, you can sing as well, which is something that, well, honestly, I can't do. I could do one thing or another, and there definitely are some bass players that do sing, but kind of you can count them on the fingers of your hand. There's not that many. Did you find that difficult as well? Because, again, you're the lead vocalist.
Well, it's funny you should say, I'll do one thing at a time. When I learn, I have to learn one thing at a time. I have to learn the bass part, and then I have to put the vocals with it, or vice versa. I have to learn the vocal part and then add in the bass part. I don't multi-track very well, so it's hard for me to just start out doing both at one time. I have to gradually work into it. But as far as singing and playing bass on stage, it just seems like a natural fit to me. Okay. It's weird for me to sing without playing bass now. It's really odd. It feels off. So I like it. There are times I would rather just put the bass away and just sing because I get into the vocals that much and I don't want to have to be thinking about what my hands are doing. I just want to be in the moment and just let it go. And I always have to bring myself back to, oh no, you've got to play too.
Absolutely. And with bluegrass, it's interesting because it is such an American music form. And of course, in the Carolinas, it's obvious that there's a lot of bluegrass musicians. it has maintained a pretty steady presence throughout the music scene. We're in the Pacific Northwest, and a friend of mine had mentioned they have tremendous bluegrass festivals and stuff up here as well. I think it doesn't get as much notice as people might think. It's got the steady flow, steady movement, but if you're not looking, you might miss it. You might not know it's actually happening.
That's very true. And when we started touring full time in 2011, we had so many people tell us, well, there's no need of you going out west because there's no bluegrass out there. Kansas, the first time we were going to Kansas, people around here were saying, why would you go to Kansas? There's no bluegrass in Kansas. But there's bluegrass everywhere. I don't know of any state, and we've played in every state except for Vermont and Hawaii right now. There's not a state that bluegrass does not have a presence in. Sometimes you have to search out the little pockets, whereas you cross the border in North Carolina, it's just all in your face. So you have to look a little bit harder, but it's really more present than most people realize, or that most people want to think. We're on the West Coast all the time. Bluegrass is huge on the West Coast. We were just out in Washington a few weeks ago, Washington, Northern Idaho, Oregon, Northern California, everywhere out there. It's very prominent. The Dakotas, Wyoming, we stay out there more than we stay here, actually. We found a very good bluegrass pocket out in the Northwest and all up and down the West Coast, and we just really enjoy being out there.
For folks that haven't heard your music, it is, I say this in the most complimentary way possible, you remind me so much of Dixie Chicks, because they had their roots in bluegrass, and you have an amazing voice. So if they ever need a lead singer, they should contact you, because you've got the chops. And now it might leave Daniel high and dry, but they had their beginnings with that same bluegrass influence. And as I'm listening to a lot of your music, I'm hearing a lot of the same kind of nuances and some of those details. Now, also I noticed a very upbeat, positive messaging with the music that I listen to. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Wow. When we pick out music, anytime we're going to do anything on stage, or especially go in the studio and record it, my just baseline is it's got to strike an emotional chord of some sort. Sometimes it's happy and positive and you want to make people feel good, and other times it's just one of those deep, dark, wrenching moments that you just want to lay down and die, or at least cry. But it has to inspire some kind of a strong emotion for me, first and foremost, because I feel like if it impacts me emotionally like that, then I can convey that emotion to my audience easier, and I don't have to try. It works then. It just happens because I'm feeling it myself. That's the most important thing for me for picking out music. The up-tempo, the melody, of course, is really important. And we always tell everybody that bluegrass is a very unique music in that so much of our music is very up-tempo and happy and pat your foot and dance and have a good time. And because of that, a lot of people will just overlook the lyrics sometimes because they're having such a good time. It's so positive. But a lot of our songs, if you take time to really dig into them and listen to what we're singing about, we're horrible people. Yeah. We sing so much about lying, cheating, killing, leaving, everything you can think about. Wives and girlfriends in bluegrass are lucky if they make it past the second verse because we're usually getting killed. So I've made it a purpose. Our last few CDs, I've tried to turn that tide a little bit. Our last two CDs, we've had really a domestic violence theme song, but the woman wins in the end. Okay. The woman always wins in the end, and I've got another one slated for this upcoming CD. So I think I'm going to continue that progression and just give bluegrass women a little bit of hope that it's not always going to end badly for them. Sometimes we can turn that corner and put it back on the guys.
There you go. Well, and we all remember what happened to Earl after with the Dixie Chicks, and so that I can see that pattern working very nicely.
Yeah.
Moving on to your sound, I see that predominantly you're playing NS Design basses. Tell us a little bit on how you're getting your particular bass sound.
Man, number one, a really good instrument is the key to that. I play the NS bass guitar. It's a CR4 radius. I love the radius. I love the resonance in it. Just tonally, and you can get any tone you want out of that instrument. You can get anything from funk to mellowed out jazz, whatever you want. You can dial that particular instrument in and you can get it. Something else that's really interesting to me, we started using Carolyn cables. Okay. We endorse Carolyn cables. It's a higher end cable. We use the instrument cables. We use all of our cables on stage. Everything's Carolyn. I never realized how much difference a cable could make in the tone of an instrument or in vocal tone. We had recorded our last CD. We had gone in. We had everything cut. We were just to the mix down stage when we hooked up with Carolyn, and they gave us new mic cables. They said, "Here, try these out." We went back in the studio and tried them out. They made such a difference on the tone of the vocals. We recut all the vocals for the CD using the Carolyn cables. And I found that in the instruments too. So I only use Carolyn cables as my cables because they really do carry that much better tone than the other cables. I'm playing through an acoustic image amp. Okay. It's a Coda 2-head amp. It has a down-firing woofer. I play mine on top of an ISO box that was custom designed by DB Down Cases for my bass amp, but I sit it on top because it's padded, and so it takes up some of that resonant thump you get out of the stage. But that bass amp, if you want to feel that thump, if you sit it on the stage, you can feel the vibration. It's wonderful. It's a nice even tone. It goes out very smoothly all the way around. You're not getting that burst of sound just in the front and nowhere else. They're made in Durham, North Carolina, too.
Oh, nice.
Which is really cool. They're actually locally done bass amps. I like that a lot. I use Fishman. Okay. I use Fishman pre's if we're going to line straight in and use the DI. Usually I like to have my amp on stage just so I've got that little bit of feedback directly behind me, but we don't run it too hot. So, Bluegrass, we have to keep things kind of calm. People get upset with us. Gotcha. I also play, I love the NS stuff. I endorse the NS stuff. I wouldn't do without it. But I also have an acoustic electric upright that is a hollow body called an Eminence that I do have to play because that one has a special sentimental value to me. So I have to travel with it. And some bluegrass festivals still do not completely accept the solid body basses. I'm getting by with the Eminence is a real skinny design, but it's the hollow body. So I can get by with that because it still looks like an upright bass. It's just much smaller. Some of them don't like me carrying a solid body bass on stage. So I keep both with me. The Eminence is from G. Edward Luthier. He's in Minnesota, and he makes a fantastic bass too. I have the one that I play on stage is a maple color, but I have its sister that is blonde, and it is the only blonde in existence, and he made it just for me.
Oh, nice.
So that's kind of cool. I like that bass a lot too.
Very, very cool. Talking about touring, because you've been all over the place, I know you guys have tours for the fall. I know you're going to Ireland this month, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I'm going to Ireland on Sunday, October the 6th. I'm flying out.
There you go. And then more U.S. dates.
We stay busy all the time. We're on the road about 250 days a year.
Wow.
All over. Well, this year I've already been in Canada and in Mexico and Alaska, along with all over the country. We generally cross country about 6 times a year, going out to the West Coast.
Gotcha.
Again, we love the West Coast. We have bluegrass promoters that tell us we're their favorite West Coast band because we're out there so much. We haven't toured the East Coast extensively in several years, and it's not that we don't want to. It's just that the jobs come in over there. We get the calls over there, so we book the tours where the tours are available. I love being all over the country. I love touring. I love meeting people. That's probably the best part of the job. I love being on stage, but it's the people that make it special. It's getting to know people. It's building those relationships and building those friendships that make it really such a valuable commodity in life. And my husband always says that we've got the best job in the world because it's our job to make people smile.
True that.
And I really believe that. And that's just, I was really a little nervous when we first started touring full time and going nationally, because it was just such a big unknown to me. You don't know what the bluegrass group is going to be like in another state or on the other side of the country. And what I found really quickly was that the bluegrass community, and in large the music community, is the same no matter where you go. Mm-hmm. There's always the love. There's always the, well, come on back over here and have dinner with us, or, come back sometime. We love talking to you. It's the community, the sense of community within the greater music business has just been phenomenal. It's an experience like no other, mm-hmm. to be able to go out and relate to people. And I think music is its own language. I think
totally agree.
Music is the big equalizer for all of us. It doesn't matter what political party, what race, what religion, it doesn't matter. Everybody can bond over music and over a good song. Mm-hmm. So it's a special place to be in life.
Oh, I agree entirely. And even more importantly, when you mention lyrics, when people don't listen, in that international language of music, the lyrics don't matter. They can get the inflection. They can get a feeling, and a lot of times the way the tonalities are going, it'll make you feel one way or another. And so an upbeat tune, even if you don't speak the language, will make you feel happy. Or if it's a little on the somber side, it'll make you feel serious, and so forth and so forth. So that is totally true. And I wish that the general population would learn something from the musical community, because we don't have the same borders with the countries. We don't have the same exclusionary, oh, you're over here, we're over here. We tend to embrace each other a lot more, and it can be different genres. Every time that we're at the NAMM Show and we see all kinds of walks of musician, they're together. None of them are going, oh, you're just rockers. We don't like you. Or oh, no, you're country western. Oh, we can't stand you. It's everybody can get together and everybody can get along, and they can respect the effort. And more so, those that tour know that it's hard work. There's nothing easy about going around the country. And as beautiful as the scenery is, and you see so many interesting places, it's not necessarily as elegant as I think the public seems to think. They think it's all the bright lights and the stage and all that.
They do.
And they don't see some of those, dingy backstage areas. Or we had a group, they stayed with us. They were touring our neck of the woods, and there were three fellows. It was a trio, prog rock. And we fed them pizza, and they did their laundry here. It was one of the best things ever. They were
washing machines. Washing machines are top priority on the road. And anytime somebody will invite us over so we don't have to feed coins into a machine, it's just wonderful.
Totally.
Wonderful.
Well, I've got off track. If people want to know where you're going, they should look at Nu-Blu, and this is NU-BLU.com, correct?
That is correct. That's where you can find us. We are there. I want to go back. So you mentioned the NAMM Show. We've done official NAMM showcases twice now.
Nice.
And the first time especially, we were really shocked, because we're up there playing this bluegrass stuff, which our bluegrass is bluegrass, but like you said with the Dixie Chicks a few minutes ago, we kind of branch out. We do other things. We throw in some rock covers, and we do some country, and so we sort of keep it fresh. But when we were at the NAMM Show that first time, we had these metal guys and these rockers and country. They were all coming out there to the area and just kind of looking at us like, wow. And they were talking to us afterwards, and they really embraced our music, even though it wasn't their music. People that I would have thought would just have, that's just, we don't want to listen to that. That's not our thing. But the NAMM Show is a very open community in that other musicians accept good musicianship, and they respect that regardless of whether it's their cup of tea or not. And it's a very refreshing environment. It's really cool to be out there and see that, and being able to talk to people and relate to people, and it not matter what kind of music you're playing or you're there for. So that's a really interesting point that you brought up, that I just wanted to say, we've experienced that too.
Nice, very nice. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about future plans. You mentioned, I know there's touring. What other things, projects, what do you guys have in the works?
Oh, we've got exciting stuff going on. Daniel and I just celebrated our 1 year anniversary of hosting our own TV show. It's a show called Bluegrass Ridge. You remember when MTV started, the old VJs? We're VJs for Bluegrass.
Oh,
we
nice.
do a video show. It's on weekly, and we're in about 160 million homes a week now, which is really exciting. We just went streaming as of the 1st of September, so you can catch us at bluegrassridgetv.com.
Okay.
And it's been a wonderful experience to get to do that. It's really exciting. And not only are we promoting ourselves, but we're also promoting all the other artists by putting their videos up. We do an artist interview every week. So it's been a really good thing for us. As far as personally with Nu-Blu, we have got a new project in the works right now that should be out mid-February to mid-March of next year. Got some very exciting things coming up on that. We've got some guests that are going to be on it, some original tunes from some guests that they're going to be recording on their songs with us that I'm very excited about. We got some really cool bluegrass people, but we've also got some very out of the box other musicians that people probably wouldn't associate with bluegrass, but they're going to be on our project. They've gotten to be really great friends, and we're so super excited about that. I can't wait to let the cat out of the bag in a few months. It's gonna shock a lot of people. I think it is.
Well, it sounds like people are going to have to really keep track of what y'all are doing.
Or they've got to pay attention to us. We're so much fun everywhere we go. We make new friends. You know, we bring them cool stuff. We tell them cool stories. Our new DVD that just came out is called The Stories We Can Tell.
Okay.
And it's our entire Vagabond CD. We went in and did videos of. So it's the entire Vagabond CD. There is a bonus audio track of an old traditional bluegrass song on there, just to prove to people that we really can play traditional bluegrass.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done interviews. Daniel and I did a track by track at the studio when we were doing all the videos. And then we invited people into our home and did a really cool interview with one of our local DJs and put that on there. And we're telling road stories and backstories about us and how we got started. And it was really a lot of fun. Just kind of feel like we're chatting with people from our house. So that's all on the DVD. Again, it's called The Stories We Can Tell.
Okay.
And there are some stories on there that we can tell, but there's a lot that we can't tell. Not to the masses, anyway. Maybe private conversations.
There you go.
But you know how those road stories go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and all of this, can people find information about this on your website?
Yes, they can. It's all on there. Everything you can link to everything, our Spotify, our Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of all this social media, and I just blanked.
Oh, there's so much. But the key point is if we go to your website,
that's right,
we can find out everything.
You can Google Nu-Blu, and it'll just come up in pages, thankfully.
Great.
You can find us. If you want us, you can find us.
I would also probably mention, did you paint everything behind you as well?
I did.
Wow.
This is my spare time.
I'm surprised you have any spare time.
Well, I don't have a lot. This is my studio. This is my art studio. And when what little bit I'm home, this is my relaxation from the road.
Gotcha.
I like to come in here, I close my door, I put up a canvas, and I just sling paint. And it's very relaxing to me. It makes me happy. It's a different creative side. It's a totally different creative side. And I'm a very visual person.
Mm-hmm.
I learn visually. When I learn a song on bass, I chart it out. And I follow it while I'm learning it for quite some time until I feel comfortable on it, because then if I get tripped up, I'm seeing it. I see the numbers in my head rather than think them sometimes. Is that strange?
No.
I'm a little weird.
No.
I'm a little weird. I have my own unique processes of doing things. And I think part of that, we talked about this before we started recording, but I think part of that comes from the fact that I had 2 strokes back in 2003, right after we started Nu-Blu.
Gotcha.
And thankfully I recovered.
Mm-hmm.
I recovered very well, but I lost my speech. I lost my right side. And after that, numbers just don't work in my head so much like they used to. There's some things that, even though I've recovered, I have to think harder about. Mm-hmm. And coordinating between my hands is a little bit more challenging now in the learning process of doing it. So I have to alter things sometimes to get to where I'm going. But thankfully, I usually get there.
Absolutely. Well, and if you hadn't have said it, I would have never known, because, again, listening to the performances, they're very impressive. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule with all the stuff that you do. Folks, you've seen her here, Carolyn Routh, on Bass Musician Magazine.
Thank you so much. I've had a great time.